Love can be defined as a lot of things. Love can be romantic, it can be exploitative, platonic, sexual, familial, genuine, agape, unconditional. Genuinely, you name it. It can be a combination of all sorts of melting thoughts and emotions coming together in a pie. It can not even be defined by other human words. It can be the idea of wanting to be with someone or live in some personal dream. It can be the emotion that drives you to do crazy, outlandish things. It can drive you to travel great lengths just to see a person for a few minutes or remind them, I love you.
Again.
It can make you sacrifice your dreams just to help theirs. It can drive you to take a bullet for someone or die trying. And in my opinion, the strongest love is the one that makes you realize you're hurting that person and you need to let them go. Yeah, this is going to be one of those video essays. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Hopefully that's when this comes out. I hope you're celebrating with the finest of hugs or the strongest of alcohols today. Art often teaches us about ideas that are reflective of our own world, both those on a societal level and those on a personal one. And love seems to be one of the ideas that's commented on the most. And, for good reason. Everyone feels love, no matter what type it is. You've felt love in some way, shape, or form before in your lifetime. And everyone interprets and perceives that love in different ways. It's a relatively universal construct. And I timed this video perfectly for Valentine's Day, I hope. At least hopefully get this out by February. I want to look at how the art we consume influences our perception of love, some of my favorite pieces of art that have influenced me personally, and how some people have different types of conversations about these pieces of art and how their interpretations are kind of flawed or from really messed up perspectives. I do want to say though, before we actually get into this video, I have never dated. Wow, what a shock. The performative ginger video essayist doesn't pull. That is a twist I did not see coming. I've had plenty of crushes, a handful of messy, weird talking stages, and I got set up on a double date once. It was weird, but I've never actually dated anyone. I don't think that makes me unjustified to be the one to make this video. I think it does show a bit of immaturity and naivete on my half, but I think being able to realize that is good. That may also be the whole underlying theme with the latter half of this video, but we're not there yet, so let's keep moving. Okay, so we're gonna be switching up places for filming a lot with this video. So just go with it, okay? Okay, so I filmed this on the actual worst day ever. Look at the bags under my eyes. Isabella Camargo wrote in her 2025 Genzyme article, "Yearning has recently become popular among most young people. It's a word used to describe an intense feeling of longing for something, as a form of urging. At 22 years old, I've noticed the ascendance of yearning as a generational reality, as we long for something without really knowing what it is we're longing for. This has materialized in a post-pandemic world, and I have felt it inside myself. In one of the dimensions of our desires, our generation yearns for real feelings, for authentic connections, and experiences." Okay, I like this article for a lot of reasons, but the main one that's important for this video is the idea that my generation, Gen Z, is filled with yearners, people desiring someone or something more out of their life. And I can see how some of the art I viewed at a young age or the content I consume online now influences my sense of yearningment, the Jeff Buckley-ification of Gen Z, if you will. You scroll through TikTok or IG Reels or, God forbid, YouTube Shorts, you quickly find a lot of people either posting with someone and the comments are filled with rage bait and, oh, I wish that were me, or you find posts that are just this one man alone at the edge of the universe or whatever. I don't freaking know. Some of the most streamed and most popular artists of 2025 among Gen Z were D1 yearners: Billie Eilish, Jeff Buckley, Somber, Phoebe Bridgers, Radiohead, The Smiths, and so many more that all have music craving that one lifestyle or that one choice or that one person. Last year, I listened to lots of that entire list besides the Smiths, and I had a really strong connection with like every single artist and all the songs I listened to by them. And again, I know I'm not the only person. A lot of music has created this feeling, but one album I think does it really well is Frank Ocean's obvious masterpiece, Blonde. To some extent, I feel like this album is a generational one that truly defines Gen Z. It really defines my time. It really defines the headspace most people in my generation are in when it comes primarily to love. So much of that album is flooded with yearning and regret over what Frank's done. It looks back at all the relationships he had during his teen years and pairs that retrospection with a now adult Frank, not proud or happy with what he's done. Most artists make art about love to come to terms with the things in life they struggle with, both by expressing themselves in therapeutic ways in art or through a more personal way of expression. That sentence made no sense, but just go along with it. And this is what's been called art therapy, which I didn't even know was a thing, but like I'm honestly really glad it is. Art therapy is pretty much a mental health treatment delivered by a licensed art therapist, integrating psychology and creative processes to help you address specific emotional, behavioral, or trauma-related concerns. Several actual artists and workers in the industry have been able to come to terms with mental health, childhood trauma, and all sorts of different issues through art therapy. Emma Thompson faced depression caused by infertility in the early 2000s, and she cited art therapy as a great source for growth and recovery. Even this one guy, Ron Clements, not the animation veteran, but an actual like war veteran who suffered from a lot of PTSD, but then got recommended to do art therapy and primarily started doing a lot of wood carving, and it really helped him grapple with that. Like, that's just like such a cool thing. Like, obviously being able to express yourself is a way to come to terms with this stuff, and so like putting that into art, it's therapeutic. But even if it's not recommended to you by like an art therapist or whatever, like, hey, you should do art therapy, I feel like there is still a lot of reconciliation that happens when you create art, regardless of if it's art therapy, something you're making more personally, or if it's the art that you're putting out to the whole world to see. I'm using my hands a lot today when I'm talking. Listen to Daniel Caesar and tell me there isn't a little bit of personal trauma or relationships or turmoil he's coming to terms with in Blessed. Son of Spurgey, the newest album from Daniel, was very therapeutic for him, both in how he attempts to reconnect with his father, hence the name Son of Spurgey, which is actually his dad's nickname, on top of exploring Daniel's identity, his sense of masculinity, and his spiritual faith. All things so many people, like even people I know my age, are yearning to either heal or yearning to have. But the album as a whole isn't one about romance, but I do think a lot of the therapeutic bits of the album do have a lot to tie back into this video, especially with the talk about masculinity and identity, which is going to come back later, probably after another transition or whatever. But I think that artists make the things that they do and share it with people as a way to come to terms with their past and as a way to move on from it. You are realizing with that art your mistakes and the flaws you've made, and you're willing to come to terms with that and realize you're not the person that you wish you were. And by making that art and processing the things you've done, you're able to move on from that. I'm gonna keep bringing this up. La La Land is like the perfect definition of this.
Despite the bright colors and the bold musical numbers, Chazelle and his team managed to find the right blend between fantasy and reality in this film, making this splashing musical have a true-to-life look at Mia and Sebastian's relationship. Saying that this movie is phenomenal isn't a bold claim to make, but that's for a reason. Its depiction of love and the pursuit of artistic careers are so real and so authentic, not being afraid to crush the soul to show how true it can be, but that's what makes so many people gravitate toward this film. There always needed to be a little tension between kind of gritty LA reality and this kind of heightened world that you just necessarily get from doing a full-blown song and dance musical. And I think what really interested me, once you kind of set up that dynamic, is what does that mean for the characters? What does that mean for the emotions? because these are characters who are sort of living in their heads. They're kind of living out their fantasies in some way. In other ways, their fantasies remain completely out of reach for most of the movie. So it's that sort of tension, that frustration, that kind of perpetual state of dreaming where you're kind of frustratingly unable to make the dreams a permanent reality. It feels like the musical was a great vehicle for getting all that kind of feeling that felt very, in some ways, unique to Los Angeles, I think. But this helps show how that blend between this fantasy musical tone and this grounded to earth LA-based reality of everything blends together to show Mia and Seb as they're so passionate in fields that are so out of reach. Yet the world keeps tearing that passion down, and so when the moment comes for both to pursue what they've worked so hard for, they say goodbye to each other. It's tough to swallow, sure, and it's clear that they have a deep passion for each other, but that passion doesn't mean holding the other back. And for a filmmaker as ambitious as Damien Chazelle, you can't help but feel the entire crux of the story comes from his real-life experiences, just like Whiplash and its portrayal of drumming, since Chazelle is a former drummer and did face a fair bit of emotional abuse in his time drumming. And while I do love La La Land, it's not the only piece of art that feels this therapeutic and authentic. So here's a list.
Okay, I think this is more of like, I thought it was gonna be an aesthetically pleasing shot, but I don't think so. Igor is one of, if not my favorite album of all time. Through the titular character, we follow Tyler as he grapples with this loop of emotions, struggling in a love triangle, being the side piece to an already taken, closeted guy that he's got a crush on. He continues to fall for this boy, realize the relationship isn't working out, and then after that happens, he's like, oh hey, can we still be friends? And it just repeats over and over and over through what is probably one of the best albums that defines Gen Z. You have at least 4 songs on this playlist. You've seen so many different edits of Igor's theme, or New Magic Wand, or Gone Gone Thank You, and there's a reason for that. This album struck a chord with people, which makes sense because it's also the first album Tyler won a Grammy for. Tennis Tom's video essay really does do it justice. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers discusses way too much, but I love the canvas Kendrick chooses to paint of his rocky marriage. Kendrick is very vocal about his journey from promiscuity to settling down with his wife, and he's even more vocal about the times he wasn't loyal to her and the regret he has about that. Another 10 out of 10 album from the best to ever do it that also has a really good essay by Tennis Tom. Okay, yeah, so does Frank Ocean's album. Tennis Tom is just like one of the best video essays out there. The late Arnold Nobel's Frog and Toad series is one primarily for little kids to learn how to read, but it's also a deep dive into the friendship of these 2 amphibian bachelors. The original books, the wholesome stop motions from the 80s, and the Apple TV show all tell the same story of these 2 little amphibian bros in their calm autumny world. There's a lot of debate over whether or not they're gay. There's definitely a lot of homo subtext. Arnold Lobel was a gay man who did struggle with his sexuality, and you can definitely see how maybe some of those struggles influenced what he wrote in these books. He wanted them to be something adults and children could read, and something that he could use to let out his emotions over things he was struggling with, which at the time may have included his sexuality, since he was only semi-open about it at the time. The books are cozy, they're sweet, it's something I wish I had read as a kid, and the last story written by Lobel alone has one of my favorite pieces of art put into a book. Moonrise Kingdom is my second favorite film from Wes Anderson, and its look at young love with Sam and Susie is just wholesome. I'm not gonna lie. It's a heartwarming story about young love told through these 2 characters seen as outsiders, weirdos, and troubled children. Besides its central young love duo who fall for each other, the film has a lot to also say about how love isn't owed to the people we have by blood, but that it's also okay to forgive those people for their mistakes and work on those relationships. The Perks of Being a Wallflower is a rough watch, but it's also one of the best watches you'll ever have. I hear the book is great too, but the film offers a devastating look at Charlie meeting all these new people and falling in love with his life and these people, only for the world to come crumbling in as his year ends. This film hurts me to think about just because it feels so real. Everyone's had that one person or that one friend group that really introduced them to new things and people and really brought them out of their shells. And I think we all owe that person a lot, even if they aren't in our lives anymore. This film resonates a lot with my sophomore year, and I think most people can really relate to some aspect of Charlie's character. Okay, but the kiss the prettiest girl in the room scene, Dude, what did you think the outcome of that was gonna be? And last but most certainly not least, we have normal people. Normal people is one of the truest depictions of a relationship in our time. And it's not a happy one. It has highs, it has lows. It's not afraid to show the vulnerability of a relationship, the different places in life we can be during these relationships, or even how they might pop back up into our lives when we expect them to the least. It shows how even at our most broken, other people can pick us up and make us better, even when they have their own pieces to put back together. Marianne and Connell here are both immensely relatable characters, and despite neither being perfect, they really do care and bring out the best in each other when they think they aren't good enough, or they find themselves in places they don't want to be. The other is able to help when they're around, but they won't always be around each other. They won't always be together. Remember earlier when I was talking about sacrifice at like the very beginning of this video? That's how this show ends. Despite their happy relationship, by the last episode, insecurity and traumas and all, they both know this won't hold them content. Marianne knows she's holding Connell back from making it big in the work he's so passionate for, so she lets him go. But she stays. Even when he's gone, she'll stay. She closes her eyes. He probably won't come back, she thinks. Or he will, differently. What they have now, they can never have again. But for her, the pain of loneliness will be nothing to the pain she used to feel of being unworthy. He brought her goodness like a gift, and now it belongs to her. Meanwhile, his life opens up before him in all directions at once. They've done a lot of good for each other. Really, she thinks, people can change one another. You should go, she says. I'll always be here, and you know that. That's how the original book ends. There was never a follow-up, and there probably will never be one. And the TV show ends pretty much the exact same. We're holding each other in a packed-up house, knowing very well this is probably the last chance they'll have to feel one another. It's gut-wrenching, but it's true to life. And that realism isn't just a way to get the audience to cry, even though it does help. It's a way to remind the audience of reality. Tell them that despite not every relationship lasting, even the ones you believed would for an eternity, it doesn't mean that they were for nothing. Even during our darkest times, when we are at our lowest mentally or spiritually or whatever, the people around us can pick us up off our feet and tell us that we are deserving of love, whether we think we are or not. It's something Marianne struggles with a lot in this show, and something that Connell only opens up about in one of the final episodes of the series. And that is something therapeutic that my generation needs to hear more often. The realism and the humanity behind Sally Rooney's novel and the TV adaptation is something we're starting to see more of in the media. I feel like going back and looking at older pieces of art, or even pieces of art that are still coming out today, there's a clear lack of true, nuanced looks on real-world problems, and people's perceptions of love seem to be one of the things that this type of non-realistic art is affecting the most. This lack of nuance enforces unrealistic expectation among the viewer, affecting their mindset and the outcome of their relationships. And more often than not, this type of art and this mindset and this combination of things leads to mass misinterpretation. The job art has is to be interpreted in as many different ways as possible, because we as humans project our own experiences onto the art we consume or the art that we create. But because movies talking about love are so personal to so many people tie their real world experiences into their interpretations of the art. So ideas like love in film often spark discourse. And since too many people are too illiterate and hostile now online whenever facing another opinion, that leads to
You want to know the really funny part? The entire final passage or part of this video was a good half hour. So expect part 2 out sometime.